Albert, can you know how many people is waiting on Facebook?
Not yet. I'll tell you in 5 minutes. 2 minutes, actually. To start connecting as soon as I start my live feed. Okay, let me see where we are. Here we are. Okay. Buenas noches a todos. Hoy es noche de ponencia y tenemos con nosotros al grupo de Project Aware de Estados Unidos. Nos van a hacer la ponencia en inglés, pero va a estar con nosotros también Juanita Seino, que ella nos va a estar también, va a ser como una mezcla de español e inglés, va a estar interesante, a ver cómo sale. Nosotros, los panelistas, todos hablamos inglés y bueno, ya saben que yo subo mañana todo esto a YouTube con subtítulos en español para que los que no saben inglés. Pero quédense, por favor, pueden preguntar en español y aquí les contestamos también en español. Pueden preguntar en inglés y les contestamos en español o en inglés. Va a ser aquí algo distinto. ¿Qué más? Pues bienvenidos, no se les olvide, por favor, visitar siempre nuestra página de YouTube, Todos por el Mar. Es hashtag Todos por el Mar, todo junto, en YouTube. Tenemos nuestra página de Facebook, que es Todos por el Mar, así nada más. Y también tenemos Instagram, entonces por favor denos like y síganos. Bueno, pues como todos los días, bueno, los lunes, los miércoles y los jueves, está con nosotros Pedrito, bienvenido.
Buenas noches, bienvenidos, gracias.
Está también Benjamín Zuckerman, creo que salió un segundo. Está el doctor Robles, él es nuestra cara en Facebook. Hola, Doc. Y Marina también está por allá. Y pues el resto del grupo, pues bienvenidos. También está Luis, que también es parte del grupo. ¿Cómo estás, Luisito? Adelante.
Está, pero...
Bueno, y vamos a empezar tenemos 6 en Zoom. Y ya tenemos como 15 en Facebook. Les vamos a admitir a todos. Hola Luis, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, ¿cómo están? Gusto saludarlos.
Buenas noches, Luis. Tiempo sin oírlo.
Sí, verdad, ya tenía rato, pero pues ya vi que venían para acá, pues qué gusto.
Lo mismo. Primera vez que nos vemos.
Sí, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Qué buena onda, qué buena onda. Pues qué gusto, ya aquí listos, ¿eh?
Bueno,
muy bien.
Pues, adelante, Jack, please go ahead and introduce yourself. You know more than I do, so please go ahead.
Well received. First off, thank you so much for having myself and Juanita here to join you guys in this, to talk more about Project Aware, to talk more about conservation. We're here to answer any and all questions at the end of the presentation throughout. Juanita here speaks way better Spanish than I might, so of course, we're here to serve your community the best that we can. But my name is Jack Fishman. I am the Community Conservation Officer at Project Aware. My role is to serve you guys as a dive community, to answer questions about building conservation programs, to help with training and opportunities for the businesses, and of course, see a successful return to a clean and healthy ocean alongside the help of Project Aware. So a little bit of my role is to help travel to different regions throughout the world and to those dive centers and those communities and help integrate the Project Aware actions and conservation that we do alongside the work that you guys are doing in your community. So it's very wonderful to get to know you guys better and to be here. And we're going to learn all about what we're doing and how you guys can get more involved. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are doing some great work as it is. So if that's the case, we're just here to answer as much questions and clarify anything that you guys want to do more of. And that's our goal today.
Thank you.
course.
Absolutely. So now here comes my part, where I introduce who we are and our global movement. So yes, we are actually you guys, all your students and all the instructors and dive centers is our dive leader network. We are literally a very small group that does quite a bit. There's only 14 of us, and under the new circumstances, there's even less of us. So that would be about 6 of us. Is that right, Jack?
That are working as hard as we can, I'd say so, yes.
Yes. And we are a registered nonprofit organization registered in the US and Australia, and obviously in England, our office being in Bristol at this time. Now, we are organization that has done everything that we can about policy and saving species, and now we're really focusing on a clean and healthy ocean. And we started because Patty wanted to start a project, and it was just a 10-year project. Now we have become our own entity and our own life, but please be aware, we are not Patty. Ya no soy Patty, no somos Patty. Hacemos otras cosas, okay? So we'll start with that, and take it away, Jack.
Of course, that's a great introduction, of course. And then throughout the presentation, Juanita and I will share different pieces that we want to share with you guys. So yeah, we're all here to help. And as you know, we are a small staff, just to reiterate that. But like I was saying earlier, we may not be as big as Patty, but we make up for it as much in the passion that we have to help you, our dive community. So we're looking forward to sharing some more of that right about now. And just to dive a little bit deeper, I do like having this just a little bit more intimate look at exactly how the funding of Project Aware works, which we like to share with our community. And there's nothing to hide here. To show very clearly how this looks is that the majority of the funds that we get comes from you guys, the dive community. And when Juanita eloquently says that we are you, it is very much literally in the sense of the funding and as much in terms of the action. And our role is to support you guys and learn more about your passion that we can. So as you can see, a ton of it, more than nearly half, comes from just the scuba divers' graciousness and donations to the fundraisers of local dive centers and our 100% aware partners, all of which can be expressed here in its clear to see format. So just nice to have a visual sometimes of that. We're actually not funded by any of our corporates. In fact, you can see here, it's only 9%. So if you do want a little bit more clarity on the fact that Patty is not actually driving our fund day, you can see that within that 9%, they make up a small role of some donations they provide for us. And of course, their eloquent service and partnership. But beyond that, we are essentially made up of you guys. And that's where we will go from there. So just a little quick introduction into some of the work that we're doing. It stems, as Juanita was mentioning, from a clean and healthy ocean. And what that will look like is a focus on shark and ray conservation and tourism ethics, down to the marine debris work that we do, which many of you guys may already be familiar with. But it's nice to kind of show some of the examples of our successes from the perspective that we've done in the shark and ray world, returning to a healthy ocean. And so one of our proud accomplishments is a resource for you guys that you may use at your businesses. And throughout this presentation, I'll mention a various number of resources, which we'll provide for you guys afterwards. But the important takeaway about all our resources at Project Aware is simply this. If we provide a resource, whether it be this example of the Guide for Responsible Shark and Ray Tourism, they're always going to be free and accessible on our website. So at any time, I can help direct you guys to our website, I apologize, to access our resources for free. And so we're going to go into this one a little bit later, but to give you guys more examples, we work on organizations at the policy level to work on trade, to work on shark species and fishing regulations, because we know that the demand for fishing comes from the demand for trade. So if we were to understand how shark fishing and overfishing is to affect our ocean environment, it's going to stem from the supply and demand of trade. And so we are present at a number of high-level policy meetings, from CITES to United Nations groups, and we work really hard to bring the voice of divers to those policy levels to help make a difference. So in terms of direct line of what you guys can do, we're going to talk a little bit more about the guide for responsible shark and ray tourism, and that will give some more clear pointers on how to use that for your business value. But more so, we often will send out campaigns for you guys in the community to attend and let your voice be heard in the protection of sharks. So do stay tuned for any of those on our social media, as we love sharing your voice with those who do need to hear it. Juanita, did you want to go over a little bit more about some of the clean ocean work that we do?
Ahorita no. Go on.
Perfect. Excellent. So in terms of the clean ocean work, this stems from the Dive Against Debris program. This stems from our commitment that we want to track and acknowledge that there is a problem that we can all relate to. The beautiful thing about the ugly journey of trash is that everyone can relate to it in every culture, in every language, in everything. We all know what trash looks like compared to the natural environment. So at that basic level, you know, everyone can relate to this in some way, whether they've seen an overturned trash can on their, you know, walking down the street, or they've been lucky enough to be scuba diving like most of our community here and actually seen some plastic that isn't supposed to be there underwater. And we are, throughout this presentation, going to spend more time diving into exactly what it is that we're trying to do with the accumulation of marine debris data. What does that mean to get the data? Why is it important to get the data? And how does the data drive change back to you guys as a diving community? And so, stemming from exactly that, we do have the world's largest underwater marine debris database. It may or may not be surprising to hear that as a diving-centric organization, we know that the largest problem of marine debris stems underwater. And so we know that beach cleanups and park cleanups and forest cleanups and everything on land is inherently where it starts. And I'll take the blame just as much as anyone else can for, you know, attributing to a problem throughout my life. But what's all about now is actions that we can take and data that we can collect to make a difference over time. And so there's some statistics here that are worth sharing. And I just think the one that's really important to focus on is just how many pieces of marine debris was reported. And I know a lot of people in the community like to report how many pounds they've removed. And we'll talk more later about how the quantity of the pieces actually stems a better role in the science side of things. But in terms of how it's working for you guys in the business sense, when you can say that you've reported over 1.6 million pieces of trash from an organization that really has only had a max of 14 people, but you can see that it's the dive community at large making this difference. And once again, from 2011, when we started this program called Dive Against Debris and started tracking the marine debris data, to 2018, we hit our 1 million. But what's tremendous about that, and just another testament to the passion of the dive community, and of course the culture of conservation that is evolving, is that from 2018 until this very day, of course, given the circumstances, diving is a little bit more staying at home right now, but we'll get back to the normal soon. The idea here is that from 2018 to now, we've removed nearly 75% of that 1 million to our next 2 million goal. So it's an amazing effort to see that nearly 7 years of work to get 1 million, and then less than 2 years, we're almost 75% of the way there to the next million. So it's just a huge testament to the program and the effort of these divers. And that's the kind of work that we focus on. Bringing in information about entangled animals is also important through our database. And of course, to understand that when we measure dive sites, we're not just measuring the amount of rubbish we find, but also the amount of free of debris sites, because areas where they are clean are just as important to understand the work that we need to do to make a clean and healthy ocean. So here we're going to go into a little bit more about exactly what we are offering during this time as a business, as you guys, of course, we are the nonprofit helping your businesses. And we've worked really hard to keep on the forefront some non-diving specialty programs that are accessible for you guys, and also work with Patty quite a bit to adjust the standards of teaching so that you guys can deliver a dry course to your customer base or to anyone else who might be interested in participating in learning more about the conservation programs you guys are doing via the Project Aware specialty and Coral Reef Conservation specialty. Now, I know many of you guys have laid eyes on the Coral Reef Conservation specialty before, but it is important to note that we know it needs to be updated. That being said, we have reformatted it to a modern world. So it is the same information, the same standards that you know and understand, but we have brought it back to a 2020 level of brand formatting. So on our website, which again, is on our Project Aware teaching resource hub. You will find a new version of the coral reef conservation specialty that is ready for delivery via two-way learning, just like we are doing now on Zoom or on Facebook, or any really means of connection with your students and indirect supervision. And because they're dry, we have allowed for that electronic teaching to equal to a full certification, which you guys will be able to participate in. And throughout this presentation, we'll do just some examples of the Project Aware specialty workshops, as that has been revised in 2018 and has since proven a more tighter focus on the 10 tips for divers to protect our ocean planet, as we know that this brings a little bit more value and flexibility for you guys as a dive operation to teach in the relevance of the work that you're doing in your community. So what that means is we'll look at kind of how to conduct a little bit of that today, so you guys can feel confident in delivery of that using proper examples. We've also brought to the attention that PADI dive masters and candidates, really full-fledged dive masters to be clear, are eligible to teach these specialties as non-diving once they have completed their how to teach course with a PADI course director. And so these are new kind of steps we're taking to bring some professionals in the environment to actually be able to teach conservation, even though they may not be instructors, because we know that although they may not be at that part of their journey yet, we know their passion is just as clear for protecting the ocean environments. So in terms of these standardized questions, please, if you have any questions yourselves, ask them throughout. I know Juanita can help field some of the questions via the chat box, but I am also available to clarify any of the standards or coordinations that we are doing to help you guys with your business especially. So we have the Project Aware specialty, the coral reef conservation specialty. And again, that's been reformatted, but not quite updated, although it is very much in our roadmap to do. Given the current circumstances, it has been delayed a little bit, but is very much on our radar. And we'll be looking into that once again when things are absolutely normal. The next piece of the puzzle that we think is really important is taking some of our actions in diving and bringing them back to the value. So on the right, once again, this is similar information to what we saw before. You guys already know you can teach it via two-way learning. We have the dive against debris specialty, which we're going to talk all about very shortly. And again, the Aware Shark Conservation, where you can learn about threats to sharks, identification characteristics, and all sorts of opportunities, what it's like to engage with sharks in the diving environment. With dive against debris as a one dive specialty, it's great because once we're all back in the water, it also counts as an adventure dive. So it brings that whole ethos full circle where you're able to incorporate a conservation action right into the advanced course that you might already be teaching because of that one dive requirement. And so since it is one dive, it also does full-fledged count as an adventure dive. So you can complete your adventure dive, your navigation, your deep, and then the other ones you might find interesting. We always encourage peak performance buoyancy, and maybe even dive one of Shark Aware to make it a aware-centric advanced course. And these are all opportunities that we can do together. And right now, although we may not be able to do all the diving we want, we can offer certificates for the knowledge reviews that you can conduct at your dive center right now and with the local community, just like we are now, and all of them can participate in a valid way. It's important to note that because dive against debris and shark, they are now standardized, but they are still specialty certifications. So in order to actually apply for them, you will need to fill out a specialty instructor application form. But what's cool about that is that this specialty instructor application form, the fee goes entirely to Project Aware. And so when we looked back at our funding model, you can see that a lot of the funding comes from the support of our dive against debris specialty, the Aware Shark Conservation specialty, and it's nice to know that it is a full donation rather than a payment to PADI. So we have control of the specialty, and we love providing awareness and conservation support in those realms. So that is a lovely but brief introduction into the work that we're doing from a course-centric perspective and what can be done right now. Of course, all of these can be done via video conferencing, and then when you're ready to bring it to the divers, you've already completed the knowledge development sessions and they can be signed off as such. So we're going to look a little bit more about the Project Aware specialty, and I'm going to talk about some cool stories of how that really will engage into the work that we're doing. But again, it's a PADI specialty that anyone can teach right now, from a PADI assistant instructor to an open water scuba instructor. So again, when I say anyone, I mean at the professional level in the PADI course world. And as we discussed earlier, dive masters can get involved. But the biggest update stems from it coming down to the 10 tips for divers, stemming from, as you can see below with our Drew Richardson there, holding a give back sign, and then we have becoming debris activists. All these different tips will work and coincide nicely to build workshops that you guys can teach and bring some of the value of the work you're doing in your community to this as well. And all the instructor guides, all the lesson guides, all the tools you need to teach these, with, of course, the exception of the specialty instructor application, which is on the PADI website, or on our website, as you can see below at projectaware.org/tools, for free. And that is how you can get access so that you can start teaching these as a professional. Because if you're a Project Aware specialist, then you're probably an open water scuba instructor, because you can also receive that for free. So here's a great example that I want to go into. This is what the lesson guides would look like on the Project Aware specialty. So as I mentioned, this presentation, I hope not to be talking at you the whole time, and I want to get some feedback and hear some stories. So this is a great example where we can have a little bit of a conversation, and I can hear some stories about your local dive community. But we know that protecting underwater life is super important. It's one of the more obvious things that we need to consider. And so besides the, not riding, touching, overly feeding, things like that, things that would be very of a common sense variety to you guys, what are some interactions that you guys have seen in your environments? Maybe that's something we can talk about and give some feedback on at Project Aware. But at the same time, by having this conversation, we are actually conducting the course requirements for the Project Aware specialty. So it's nice to be able to kind of see the progress and the flow of that. So does anyone have just any stories about interactions with marine life that they've had in their dive community? I can open for you guys who are attending the Zoom session to share a story or two.
En español también se puede compartir la historia.
Creo que ahorita no tenemos mucho. Nosotros normalmente hasta el final es cuando empezamos a recibir preguntas y respuestas también.
Okay. Their history is to receive questions at the end.
Excellent. And no problem. We'll kind of keep that flow going. But in that sense, we talk about some of the experiences that we've had. And I talk about just how, maybe I was working with the dive center in Thailand. And here's a good example of a story. You encounter some of our animals like a manta ray and a whale shark specifically in that story. And what happened in that scenario is we had our dive vessel able to encounter the whale shark naturally on the dive site. But then the captain made a call, imagine to their inter-dive boat captain network. And I'd say within about 7 minutes, we had from one vessel, our vessel currently at that dive site with the whale shark swimming near the surface, we had about 8 or 10 more vessels arrive within 7 minutes of that call, whether it be daisy chaining up to us and so on. And they were all of a sudden you had from one vessel in the water to about 8 worth of divers and snorkelers all around a single animal. So you can imagine from a protecting underwater life standpoint, the lessons to learn there is that might be a negative interaction, mainly because we were there witnessing the animal within the scope that we could. And then more dive operators come to attend without exactly, there wasn't exactly some guidelines there, although there are set in the local community and depends on the local regulations. But we could think that one way to possibly, as a solution for that would be having the dive boats coordinate with each other about when they're going to leave in a set time slot and a set amount of time that they can interact with this animal. And then the next dive boat can arrive accordingly. And that would provide a fluid but safe interaction for that whale shark. So we don't have, 7 to 10 divers and snorkelers in the water to then dozens. And that's just a simple example of the kind of conversation you might want to have with your students. So once again, that was just exactly what we were talking about and talking about some ways that we can encourage appropriate behavior. Instead of focusing on the negative, we can talk about some solutions and slower interactions that we could have with our partners. So I wanted to show you guys an example of what the Shark and Ray Tourism Guide, as that example will lead nicely into this. And the Shark and Ray Tourism Guide is actually a great read for you guys, and I encourage you to download it. Again, we can provide the links at the end. But what you'll see here is that there's actually a literal score and an assessment of what it might be like as a dive operator to interact with marine animals. And what's cool is our Shark and Ray Tourism Guide was created alongside some major organizations like WWF and the Manta Trust, who operate globally in identification and protections for these animals, for sharks and rays particularly. And we also worked with many dive centers to actually bring some of that value back. And this is what we found. There's different scores that you can do about animal treatment, in-water safety, and so on. So you can see, whereas a score at 1 in water safety would equal a free-for-all with no organization, I'd say it wasn't like that in my scenario. I'd say it was more of a 2. I just say that there was, the operators were safe and distant, but there was a lot of people in the water with little organization. And of course, we can move to a score of 4 from the scenario that I provided with the whale shark, where we have an effective strategy and people will actually coordinate their time in the animal. And then the entry and exit protocol will be enforced more clearly. So that's just a simple example of where we were at and how we can potentially get there. And it's really some fun examples. So we'll just go through this. I include a lovely manta right here, but I like this photo because it does show some safe guidelines. You're well behind the animal. The animal has a clear path on its trajectory. You're taking an image as an underwater photographer from a safe distance below the animal, so you're not hindering its path, and you still get this beautiful shot, but you don't have to be in front of it blocking its path, so that way you're not changing its behavior, you're not negatively interacting, because it's very much possible, as we know, to enjoy marine life, and that's what we want to encourage. Some other things that we'll look at here, again, just the specific example, because you might have a favorite species of shark or ray, and the chances are it's probably in this guide. And I took what the scientific answer is to manta rays, because they're some of my favorites, and showed just what it might look like. We have the scientific answer from the group size, maximum of 10 people, to how the conduct should be, on scuba diving compared to how the conduct should look via swimming, all the way from the interactions to sunscreen and just basic underwater signs and introductions. So there's lots of opportunities for us all to work together. And this guide is a really cool tool that I encourage you guys as a community to look through and see if it applies to your business as something you want to share with your students on the ride out or at any time throughout the diving protocol. So we're going to talk more about dive against debris, and we're going to spend some time here going into exactly how you guys can get involved, what it's like to actually work with dive communities and really bring some of this action to light, and of course, the ugly journey of trash. So once again, this is dive against debris is not just a project aware specialty, but it is an action. And so I'm using the project aware specialty so that I can simultaneously bring some of the value of how the specialty works, but more so talk about how you guys as a community can unite around this action of dive against debris and bring it to the forefront of your business. So again, one dive specialty. It's free to get involved with marine debris. You just have to understand exactly where the problems might arise, and that's what we're going to dive into today. And so this is just another snapshot from the project aware specialty, just again to show how you might have that conduct conversation with your class, with your groups. Anyone might want to get involved. And then you can talk about some of the actions you're taking in dive against debris in your community to remove marine debris and raise awareness for things that are happening. And so, of course, we want to talk about this ugly journey of trash and where it comes from. And without us, it may or may not exist, but the idea here is that it comes from land-based sources. But it can also come from the sea as well. And it starts with us and it ends with us. And that's the most important consideration. Although we may be the problem, we are also the solution, and there's no inevitability around it. The environment will process things and break things down over many, many, many years. But at the end of the day, it'll never truly leave until we can work together and step in and help solve this problem with the tools and skills that we have as divers and ocean enthusiasts. So I like to show some examples in terms of land. Maybe you have a big party and something, or in the local community, and that might be an attributing factor to where marine debris ends up in the ocean. If it's lost at sea, then you can understand that sometimes shipping vessels, because many communities rely entirely on their goods coming from the ocean. In fact, some people are often surprised to hear that most of the world's goods come via shipping vessels at sea. And I find that interesting because if you actually think about it, how much things you need in your local grocery store or your community to make those communities work, you can't get it all via air, and certainly air travel has only been a more recent development. And so most everything, I'd say about 75%, according to the statistics we know, come from shipping vessels, and that's all the world's goods. So there's a constant flow, even now, to make sure you guys have everything you need to be a happy, thriving community. And every once in a while, things can go wrong, but at the same time, it is a safe and more common method of delivering. So one thing we like to also discuss as we kind of go from where it comes from is what it's like once it's underwater. And so it's important to see here that there are some situations where you might want to leave marine debris behind. Now, I know some of you guys have probably seen these scenarios if you guys have been diving, whether it be fishing line, like you can see in the top right photo here, or a glass bottle on the left. But what we're looking at are a couple different scenarios. The glass bottle on the left is lying on a coral. So we know that it's very easy for us as divers to pick it up, put it in a safe container or a dive against debris bag, and then remove it from the ocean environment. And that's a straightforward process. But if we look at the fishing line on the right, it clearly doesn't look very loose. It looks all entangled and might be also entangled on some coral or live ecosystem style animals there. So we want to make sure that we're doing our best to practice good dive etiquette, dive safety, and patience to remove fishing line. Because if someone just starts tugging on fishing line in any circumstance, it can actually lead to more harm than good. And our main goal at Project Aware, and your main goal as an ocean enthusiast, is to do your best to remove marine debris safely underwater. So when it comes to things like fishing line, reporting that to our database is super important so we can get a better idea of some of the hotspot fishing sites and places where marine debris is most prevalent. And so as we can see, there's different types of debris here, from plastic on the bottom left, plastic on the bottom right, and plastic in the form of fishing line. Plastic is the #1 cause of marine debris that we have in the ocean. And it's actually really interesting because we recently were able to have a scientific paper published on the ugly journey of trash and its actual comparison to land rubbish to ocean rubbish. And our amazing policy coordinator, Hannah Prognell-Rash, worked with a couple of partners at the Ocean Conservancy and CSIRO to build an amazing scientific study on that disparity, on that lack of relationship between the land debris and the underwater debris. And so we're working really hard to bring awareness about the work that we're doing to the data, which is exactly what we're going to talk about very soon. And it's important to note that when you look at the bottom right picture here, you'll actually see a finger coral growing on that plastic bin. And we want to do our best to make sure that, if that's a scenario, maybe you guys have coral propagation programs and you guys have experience with coral. And then we would trust your ability as a dive professional to remove the coral and replant it safely on the reef. That's not our jurisdiction right now. Our jurisdiction is to make sure that you guys have the right knowledge, education, and patience to remove debris safely and without harm to the ocean environment. But as it is plastic, we want to do our best to make sure plastic leaves the environment, because that is what ultimately breaks down over time and can lead to problems like microplastics and small amounts of plastic in the water that we want to do our best to make sure that we can keep clean. And it starts at land, ends at sea, and then we're the ones that we can help make the difference. So this is a fun picture that I like to show here, mainly because it's better to visualize some of the issues that we might face in the form of an actual image. This is not just an actual pile of trash per se, but rather a exhibit in Europe that depicts the percentage of trash that we'll find in the ocean and a certain amount of it that would enter it in a given amount of time. And so if you look through here, you can see that there's a ton of plastic in various forms. And also in between, if you look a little bit closer, you'll see some kind of green peeking through the different colored plastic. That is fishing nets and fishing line, which does accurately depict the types of debris that we're facing when it comes to ocean environments. And so what we also want to look at here is what this might signify, which is essentially how long does it take for this amount of debris that you see here to enter the ocean? And in short, it takes about 15 seconds for this much trash to get into the ocean. And what that really means is that, of course, there isn't a bunch of trucks going out and dumping marine debris into the ocean every 15 seconds. It's happening all throughout the world, but it looks like this. And really, it might seem like just an overwhelming amount, but we as a dive community can do our part, work with local dive centers, dive against debris, and remove this one piece at a time. And so one way that we can fix this mess is by recording the data. And that starts by creating that value once again, entering our community. So just like Patty has a number of apps and community bases, we at Project Aware have our My Ocean community. The My Ocean community is a great place for you guys as a dive center and an individual to see other like-minded people. But more importantly, it's a place to track your conservation actions and submit your marine debris data. And so when it comes to submitting marine debris data, it's going to look a lot like following a dive log after a dive, just with the incorporation of telling us what kind of rubbish you might have found. And so just creating this is really simple, but again, we can provide more resources for that at the end of the presentation. But this is a better example of what the data collection slate would look like. Maybe some of you guys who are participating in our programs have seen this, but the idea here is to get a better eye on the work that we do, because we do need some critical information. Things like the GPS coordinates and the dive site location, where we are. How many people did it take to remove trash? Because we were talking about why it's important to remember that the quantity of debris is more critical to us than just the weight. And that comes into play because of a very simple example that I can provide. If you guys remove 50 pounds of debris, or let's structure it, 25 kilograms of debris, and we say, oh my gosh, we removed 25 kilograms, what a great dive. And you look at that and you go, oh my gosh, the 25 kilograms was just a single anchor. But if we say that we removed 25 kilograms of plastic bottles, that's going to mean something different, because even though 25 kilograms is a significant portion of weight, if I say 25 kilogram anchor, singular, or 25 kilograms of plastic bottles, it's going to mean something much more significant. So we can imagine that if we're counting one anchor, we'll still weigh it and we'll say that it came in at 25 kilograms. But when it comes to the 25 kilograms of plastic bottles, once again, that could be dozens, if not potentially hundreds of plastic bottles, empty, of course, to equal that value. And then we can start to understand what kind of places would contain that many plastic bottles. Maybe it's a pier, maybe it's, an area that's frequently interacted with by humans. That is where we will start to do the most impact and start to drive the change that we want to see, that you guys can track using that data. So of course, collecting the data is the most important piece to bringing some change, because we have worked really hard with local dive communities to bring education of this and also to bring the attention of that data to your local politicians, because we illustrate the type of debris and measure it over time so that we can actually get a proper picture of the work that we're doing. And that's how we lead by example, because if you guys are doing this work, then you can start to involve different levels of your community, from local kids to help on the beach level, while you guys as divers are going under and removing this marine debris. You can incorporate a dive against debris specialty into this program, or just leave it as an action that you guys want to focus on. There are so many opportunities to make this an engaging mission for your customers, but also your community. When I was in the field, I worked in Florida as a scuba instructor. And when I was a scuba instructor, I was working really hard to make sure that my staff was excited to go diving, because we would dive the same site over and over again in Florida. Not that it wasn't beautiful, it's still one of my favorite places on this planet. But alongside that, some of the lessons that we learned was essentially that we could engage the staff at a higher level and bring some more value to the work that we were doing. And so we started incorporating programs like the Adopt a Dive Site program. And this is what we're going to look at here. The Adopt a Dive Site is a free way to get your business involved, and more so your staff, to show that you're committing not just to the obvious state that you'll remove marine debris, but that you're finding areas of critical importance in your own community that need the help and support of your dive business. And so you guys will go out there once a month, help us understand the marine debris issues you're facing, record that data at least once a month, and then you'll bring it to the attention of the community over time. We'll produce a 12-month report, a progress report, if you will, showing how the work that you're doing is actually attributing to a cleaner site over time. And as we were talking about that 1 million pieces removed, an amazing 1/3 of that came from the frequency of people going back to the same place to measure it over time. Kind of like the Hope Spot work, but we're bringing the Hope Spot to you guys as a community to take advantage of this. We often work with dive businesses and tell them to start by adopting their local dive site that they might do for training dives, because it's going to be much easier to go to a place all the time and have an eye and watch it get clean in front of over time. This is work that you can measure and work that we can support. It's also really cool to be able to offer peak performance buoyancy programs and other opportunities that you can work with and show that Adopt a Dive Site is a place that you're committing to do this. And because you're bringing more value into that, we can track it over time. And it's really cool to think how that can spread out and evolve. And once again, a better example of that is I was really passionate about a dive site on the Molassas Reef in Key Largo, Florida, where I used to work. And then we would have other staff tell us their favorite dive sites. And they were the ones who were passionate enough to go out there and remove the marine debris. And so soon, what I started as a passion project evolved into the entire staff wanting to take part and go to their favorite dive sites and show the impact that they were making personally, both to Project Aware, to the dive community, and of course the dive business itself. So things like Adopt a Dive Site are just such a great way to get started into the realm of what you guys are doing, into expressing your passion in the form of action, and bring some cool training programs right into the work that you're doing every month. So we're going to keep on trucking from here. So I just wanted to give once again, a better visual, excuse me, of exactly how all of our Project Aware courses and actions will come together through the PADI training scenarios. And so one thing that's really cool to recommend is that the Project Aware specialty course works really, really well at the open water level. You can bring it in during the orientation, even at the e-learning orientation level, and have a conversation and a workshop, kind of like we were brainstorming earlier in the presentation, with different workshops that appeal to you. In terms of the standards, you don't need to teach all 10. You just need to teach them as a guide, the ones that will apply most to the business and the work that you're doing in your community. It's so easy to bring Dive Against Debris into the value at advanced level, and that's exactly what we're showing here on the bottom, because you can actually bring the advanced course to the, you can bring the advanced course to the Adopt a Dive Site work that you might be doing once a month, and host a special event for divers to attend that as well. You can also, bring different value and call it a different type of course for yourself, offering these eco-based opportunities. And that's how you'll start to see this effect change over time. It's bringing that eco-conscious approach to everything you're doing with the courses and tools that we're providing for free, ultimately. Because when it comes to Project Aware specialties, it's also important to note that not just the lesson guides and the instructor guides are free on our website, but any course materials associated with them are also free. And if they are, they're going to be located on our resource hub. So at the end of the day, the only cost associated with a Project Aware specialty is actually the PADI processing fee. And so that will change based on your dive center value, but at the same time, we try to make it as easy as possible to incorporate this right into your business model and bring as much opportunities to get involved. So I just wanted to share some really stories and make it a little bit more personal on the work that's really attributed to some amazing differences.
Before we continue, Jack,
yes.
we do have a question with Benjamin in español, en inglés.
Jack, they are asking if you have ever closed or suggested to close a diving site.
So I think what you might be asking is, does the data or even a negative circumstance lead to a closing of a dive site? Or we found that environmental concerns could play a role. I will say that Project Aware directly doesn't deal with that because that depends on local regulations. However, on a specific example, after Hurricane Irma in Florida, we saw that the impacts of the reef were really severe. And so we actually worked with the marine debris data that we had at Project Aware from the year prior to show that there was too much rubbish from other places. We needed professional teams of divers to go out and help remove this. This couldn't be a recreational site for safety reasons. So we actually showed that this wasn't there before by using our marine debris data, and showed that to the local Florida government, who agreed that we would shut down a portion of the reef, even though this was only temporary. I'd say maybe a week or 2 weeks max, to have the right trained teams and divers like ourselves, professionals, to go down and help remove that. And once that was done, we used the survey process to show that it was clean enough and safe enough as approved by the local regulations to return. So that's a specific example, but if there's any negative interactions, it'd be up to your local marine park, it'd be up to the local regulations, but the marine debris data can show a very, very convincing case on why that might be an important thing. So those are great questions.
Do you influence on someone, maybe you can call, I don't know, do you have like a close contact with the government or something, and make them I don't know, you can maybe suggest that they close or something like that?
Well, I think if there's a specific reason to close, it sounds like there might be some specific circumstances. I would say, by all means, contact us. Let's work together and understand. Let's make a case. I would say, we don't want to just offer to close anything without understanding everything. I'm sure you know more than we do, but at the same time, we can give specific examples and maybe other dive centers or cultures or communities who have successfully achieved the goal that you're trying to do. And that's really where we start to make a difference, is bringing the people who've successfully done what you might want to do, and then also bring that value back. But I say, contact us if there's something specific you'd like, and we'll share that at the end, and then we can have separate conversations about what needs to be done and understand that better. And of course, we can't guarantee anything because those are some new waters and certainly dependent, but we'll try and understand it with you guys. Absolutely.
Okay, we have here a question. Let me give him the microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. I have a question for you. Practically, is basically the same question from Albert.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you work as a consultant for the government.
In other words, our work brings the value
one of your
of
functions, of
consultancy.
course.
Yes. Yeah. I'd say, like, as a dive community, if you're a partner, then we can work with you guys to connect with the government, because we do have experience with that, and what kind of processes it might look like. And it's hard because, as you can well imagine, no government is a one-size-fits-all, or we'd be in a very different world. But
Yes.
the important takeaway here is that we have experiences, we have success stories, which I'll share here in a moment, but those will stem themselves to showing that there is a clear process that at least can work to getting the attention of politicians, to using evidence-based approaches like marine debris data over time to say, regardless of what your opinion or the facts that you believe are, here's the truth, here's imagery, here's marine debris data supported by a scientific organization to prove that there is more to be done, and this is what needs to be done. That's the kind of approach we'll take. And certainly it can't be done overnight, but we definitely try to bring that to the attention of local governments.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks.
Very cool. Any other questions, of course, feel free to bring to our attention. But I just wanted to show maybe exactly some of those scenarios where you actually had some change being made. And just really quick in these images, there is some backstory, but the top left is actually all instructor candidates on a instructor candidate-led dive against debris dive. That was in Indonesia. And it's just nice to show that there are people coming together and they were super excited, bringing their professional skills together to do any advanced version of an underwater cleanup with a little bit less supervision and more freedom to go and explore as instructor candidates. On the right, it's actually pretty amazing. In Bali, Indonesia, you have something like thousands of women, from what I understand, made an underwater chain in support of conservation to get the attention of the local government, and simultaneously raised a tremendous amount of donations for Project Aware. But they were bringing a huge portion of their passion for conserving the local environment in Bali to the government by organizing in mass and doing an action that we could support because we understood what they were trying to accomplish. We have other dive centers here just coming together when we have multiple dive centers joining together to do that. That's what you see at the bottom. And it's really just the part of dive against debris that's so engaging is just how different it might be from your normal dive activities. You really are turning this opportunity to bring science to the table, like we were just, your questions had brought up. And the way to do that is quite enjoyable because you're on a mission to go somewhere slightly outside the box, as long as it's safe for both your customers and maybe just your staff, depending on the scenarios, and identify problems that we know are to be, rubbish issues. And if we can see that, then we can go and explore new dive sites and explore new types of diving procedures and locate this marine debris, report it, remove it, and let our local governments know. I'd like to show a video just because I think it's kind of fun to see an example of a really successful dive against debris. And I do know that, and both from a business perspective and a community perspective, it's always nice to document this stuff and really show just how fun it is to get involved. So we're going to take a look, and you should be able to hear the audio, although I'm going to lower it so your ears don't bleed at first. Let's do that. So really short, really kind of to the point. I just wanted to show, I just want to show you guys kind of what it looked like at this recording stage. I'm sure a lot of you guys may have seen what it's like to report debris. And I know we got some questions here, so we'll go over those in a second. But you can see here that this this dive instructor is actually using our slate to document the pieces of marine debris that they're finding. And the slates are available to you guys. If you do adopt the dive site, they come free as part of our sign up. But they're also great tools that you can bring with you on every dive boat to kind of bring that culture of cleaning up to the business itself. And so what you're seeing here is that people have cleaned up what clearly is a lot of fishing line, which I'll go to just as an example. And, you know, we're sorting it into piles, which you can see here. You have plastic bottles up there, wrappers of candies and who knows what, and many, many different piles of fishing line. And so the goal at Project Aware is to take that debris of different styles, organize it so it's easier to report, but more importantly, some of this could be recyclable. So maybe you can put it back into the local community. Here in Bali, what they were doing is taking a lot of the plastic base, grinding it up, and then actually making eco bricks so they could use it in future construction projects. It was pretty amazing to see that all of the rubbish here, with the exception of a few kind of stinky, smelly stuff, was completely put back, cleaned, and reutilized into the local community, both from an economic standpoint to rebuild and use eco bricks, but also as a community standpoint to build new structures that lift up the community. So pretty cool process there. And just to go to show that they're tracking the data, we're helping them understand the value of what they're doing and then bringing that attention to the governments and giving them some advice. And as you mentioned, some consulting on the work that they might want to do to stimulate their local economy. So another example here, just to show you, is one of these world record events. This was in Florida, and we had nearly 633 divers come together, which is something that I hope we can say again, although right now it's certainly a different world, but this many divers came together on a single pier. And what I think was tremendous is just to see the kind of pieces that we're looking to remove. And as you can see, it was more, you know, oh my gosh, more than 1,800 pounds alone of fishing sinkers. And that doesn't even include the fishing line. There was actually, if I'm not mistaken, something like 5,000 individual sinkers. And that should say 10,000, I apologize. But the idea here is to show you guys through a visualization what the work of so many can come to do and what that would look like. So this is what 5,000 fishing sinkers looks like removed on a single day. This was taken right then. Each one of these buckets weighs just so entirely much. But what was amazing here is that the goal was to have the local mayor attend this event. And so because we did an event, it was something that brought in good press. It was something that brought in awareness and training. Local volunteers were able to attend from all over the community. And the mayor wanted, of course, to announce that they had broken a world record. So events like this, events like Adopt a Dive Site, they bring opportunities to get your local politicians involved because it's good press. It's great to be able to show that so many people come together to remove marine debris and to get involved. And when you have images like this, it's just tremendous amount of pieces removed. I was actually standing on the pier and counting every single one of those sinkers that came through, along with a dedicated team of volunteers. And we did equal something to more than 10,000 individual pieces of debris. But what the more amazing thing that came out of this success story was that because the mayor was there and the local government was present, they quickly agreed to let us come back to that pier and clean up more and more. So that's an example where right away, we showcased the value of a community coming together. We removed a ton of trash, documented it, took pictures of it, and then the local politicians quickly agreed that we should have better access to that dive site. And because we have access to it now, we can keep it clean. So hopefully, although this is an amazing picture, we'll never need to look at something like this again. And that is a true to trial success story. A very quick one, but it brings people in.
Jack,
Yes.
you have successful stories outside the United States?
Yes, and just for time's sake, I tried to limit the ones that I know really well, but I can give you more examples. So let's talk about Vanuatu in Indonesia. Utila, let's use Utila actually, because it might be more in the scope of South America. So in Utila, we had all of the dive centers come together to clean up an area that is offshore where many of the locals live, and oftentimes there isn't a proper if they're living on the small islands, there isn't a proper debris recycling or disposal program. So a lot of their trash ends underwater. However, at Project Aware, the most important thing is that we're not here to point fingers. We're here to solve problems and use the dive community to help. So we actually brought all 12 dive centers in Utila, the local kids, schools, and programs, and the local mayor as well, on their boats. And we all went to the other side of the ocean where these locals were living, and we cleaned it up. And the mayor quickly realized the potential of having plastic-based solutions. So once again, we got the politicians involved. They literally attended our events. We helped bring some marketing and press to their attention, which is how we got their attendance. And Mayor Troy, at the time of Utila, decided to be the first mayor to announce a plastic-free solution on Utila. So as a result of that event and much more just coordination with the community, he actually put a plastic ban into effect. Now, given the current circumstances, there's some, ups and downs about that. But the beautiful story that comes out of it is that he went straight into action, and the rest of the islands in the Bay Islands quickly wanted to follow suit and bring some regulations of their own in terms of plastic-free solutions. So that was a success story example, in short, that comes out of South America. And I see a lot of potential in those areas. We work like that on Roatan as well. The Bay Islands are a hotspot, as you can imagine, but there's tons of opportunities to create events, but all of that comes from identifying the places where the marine debris might originate. So where you guys are, it could come from inland sources and streams. So we need to consider adopting those dive sites outside the deposit areas, and then bring some of the data together after a few months, and then turn it into an event and a community-centric opportunity to bring those local politicians in. And then you let us know at Project Aware. We'll come together, try and uplift your event as much as possible, bring some attention, and that is how we can get to some change, at least in this current state.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you do only diving, or you can do like something else?
Well, we cater to Project Aware, as you can imagine. We work primarily with divers, but we have partners and programs for all, non-divers alike. So Ocean Conservancy, our main conservation partner, they actually have a data submission program entirely dedicated to land cleanups. So in that sense, it would be wise as an operation to include a diving portion and a land portion, which is more than likely a beach. Mm-hmm. And then you have data collection and sorting, just like we're doing underwater, but on land, that goes to an equally important partner of ours. And it's actually really important because this scientific paper that we were talking about earlier was published on the partnership of that exact action of getting the non-divers involved with the land source and coordinating with the diving ones so that we could literally see what was happening above and below. And it wasn't always the same. And that's why it's important to have all these actions come together. And yes, of course, we can talk about ways to get them involved and support as needed.
Okay. Esta es una pregunta para Juanita. Una pregunta, Juanita, ¿y de qué forma ustedes ayudan a la gente con esta iniciativa de que quiere ayudar a limpiar el mar? Ustedes como Proyecto Aware, ¿qué les dan ustedes a la gente que quiere? O sea, ¿les dan bolsas o les dan un respaldo? ¿O de qué forma ustedes ayudan?
En este momento la capacidad de Project Aware es bastante limitada. Entonces, nosotros lo que hacemos es definitivamente la cuenta de MiOcean es gratis y la pueden usar realmente como una especie de bitácora. Lo que queremos eventualmente es que cada buceador se convierta parte instrumental de recoger y colectar y que sea un buceador muchísimo más activo en cuanto a cuidar el ambiente. Uh-huh. Entonces, en este momento, el sueño es poder ayudar con bolsas y hacer otro tipo de cosas. Sin embargo, en este momento la capacidad de 6 personas y lo que tenemos no lo ha hecho posible. Pero entonces, enseñarle a la gente que el sistema existe, que lo pueden hacer sin no tiene que ser dinero lo que tienen que aportar. El hecho de estar buceando y podernos dar esa información es más que suficiente. Y eventualmente evolucionarlos en algo mucho más grande. Pero ha costado mucho trabajo porque la comunidad cree que somos una agencia de buceo, que no somos. Nos dieron el palito para empezar, pero no somos ellos.
Pero sí, o sea, lo que hace PADI es, ellos donan mucho hacia ustedes, ¿no? Para que ayuden.
Al contrario.
¿Ya no donan?
Es que no donen. Nosotros utilizamos la infraestructura que tiene PADI para alcanzar a los buceadores y a los instructores y a los centros de buceo para que sean ellos los que obviamente nos ayuden a dar la palabra y a que todo el mundo nos conozca. Pero nosotros no usamos a PADI para absolutamente nada.
Ya se hicieron, es totalmente independiente.
Correcto. Nosotros tenemos nuestras propias pólizas y como somos de buceo y basadas en la calidad del voluntario, porque no todo el mundo puede meterse debajo del agua y darnos la información. Entonces, estamos en ese sentido muy casados con PADI, pero nosotros usamos a PADI, digámoslo así, para que diversifiquen lo que nosotros estamos tratando de enseñar, pero no del otro lado. Entonces, nuestra capacidad no es la misma.
Ya.
Rita,
Bueno.
yo te tengo otra pregunta. Si te entendí bien y también por las primeras diapositivas de Jack, están enfocados esto a instructores de buceo, ¿es correcto?
No solamente a instructores, a estudiantes también. La próxima semana vamos a dar una charla a buceadores que nos contactaron, que quieren aprender más sobre cómo cuidar el océano, qué impacto pueden tener ellos como grupo, porque son un club, que pueden aprender ellos a ser mejores buceadores y que cada buceo o cada inmersión cuente como algo. Entonces vamos a dedicarles toda una charla de cómo llenar los datos, cómo realmente específicamente hablar de la diferencia entre un pedacito de plástico que se encuentra, una botella, pedazos de todo lo que tenga que ver basura que se encuentra, porque todo es importante, tanto lo que se encuentra como que lo que no se encuentra.
No, eso me queda claro. Lo que pasa es que, o sea, si está a nivel de instructores, están perdiendo mucha gente valiosa que les puede ayudar.
No porque no estemos hablándole al instructor, al contrario, estamos hablándole al instructor, pero no solamente es al instructor, sino también al estudiante que quiera participar. Nada para ahí. Entonces, pero eso es lo difícil, tratar de encontrar la audiencia, porque, por ejemplo, en el equipo en el que estamos, soy yo la única que habla español. Y acabo de unirme al equipo ahorita en marzo 17. Entonces, es no tener la capacidad, porque solamente somos 14 a nivel del mundo, tratando de hacer este tipo de charlas y de diversificar y tratar de encontrar la forma de, aquí porque el señor Sacal nos dio la oportunidad, pero es ahí donde es lo difícil, por lo que no somos PADI.
Así es. No, y la verdad es, nosotros en este proyecto que tenemos, que es Todos por el Mar, o sea, vamos por el mar, vamos a ayudar al mar. Entonces, Project Aware es exactamente la idea de nosotros para poder también ayudar al mar a sacarle la basura, bueno.
A todo, a conservar, a educar al buceador, a nosotros mismos, a hacerlo como comunidad. Y lo más chistoso es que no nos hemos dado cuenta que empieza chiquito y el impacto es enorme. Y el latino, porque no está la página en español, porque no tienen un representante como en este caso que pueda hablar en español o que nos comuniquemos de la misma forma, se ha perdido la oportunidad de, yo sé lo que está haciendo el latino. Yo sé que todos están cuidando, están preocupándose por el coral, por hacer cosas diferentes, por diversificar todo un poco, pero apenas estamos entonces dándoles lo que nosotros tenemos disponible y a ver cómo movemos un poquito más y que se vea entonces las acciones que grupos como el de ustedes están tomando.
Pues sí, y no sería mala idea, como dice Benjamín, abrirlo no nada más a instructores, a los organizadores que no sean nada más los instructores o los dive masters, sino también alguna persona influyente o tal vez algún instructor de alguna otra, no sé si se aceptan instructores de alguna otra agencia, no sé.
Claro que sí. Y aclaremos entonces cómo los aceptamos nosotros, porque nosotros no tenemos una membresía, por decir así. Cualquier buceador profesional, recreacional, dueño de buceo, puede sencillamente entrar a MyOcean, crear la cuenta y empezar a poner la información ahí sin ninguna asociación de ningún tipo. A nosotros lo que nos interesa es que el buceador esté ayudándonos a compartir el impacto de donde estén buceando. Para eso no se necesita verificar que tiene certificación, ni de dónde viene, ni para dónde va. Estamos buscando buceadores que quieran estar activos en cuidar el océano, en cuidar el ambiente, en poner en pie otro tipo de, digamos, cultura cuando se trata del buceo.
Claro. Y bueno, también los instructores son los que están más adiestrados para enseñar todas estas enseñanzas, ¿no? Pues yo también creo que por eso lo enfocan más al instructor, para que él dé una instrucción sobre el tema.
Y lo que pasa con el Dive Against Debris.
Más que hacer una limpieza, también necesita como una instrucción y una validación de lo que están haciendo.
Correcto. Entonces, por eso hablamos de Dive Against Debris, porque Dive Against Debris, el único requerimiento es que sea buceador, no importa de dónde venga. Y la única razón por la que se empuja eso es por lo que hay que entender la diferencia entre calidad y cantidad. Porque no es solamente el peso, sino que realmente está en el detalle de qué es lo que se está recibiendo y qué es lo que se está limpiando. Entonces hay que educar al voluntario. Y desafortunadamente hay que alguien que sea suficientemente responsable y sepa suficientemente de buceo para que haga esa parte. Sin embargo, nosotros estamos buscando es eso, una unidad a nivel comunidad de buceadores, instructores de cualquier agencia de donde estemos, solamente participar.
Juanita, tienes una pregunta aquí de Paola del público.
Sí, cómo no, Paola.
Hola, Juanita. Les quiero preguntar dos cosas. La primera es si ustedes están haciendo algún tipo de apoyo, o sea, o se están juntando con otras organizaciones tipo The Ocean Cleanup, por ejemplo, para hacer más fuerte el ruido de la labor que están haciendo. Y la segunda sería si están trabajando también con organizaciones del gobierno o con el gobierno directamente para hacer campañas que eviten que esta basura llegue al mar, porque es muy padre limpiarla ya que está abajo, pero más que nada sería un tema de crear conciencia en las poblaciones que están cerca a la playa o que tienen pues más opción de que su basura llegue al mar. Esas serían mis preguntas.
Paola, muchas gracias. Mire, empecemos por la segunda pregunta para poderle responder la primera. Realmente nosotros, aunque llevamos casi 30 años establecidos, la capacidad realmente es pequeña, porque a medida que fue creada todo, empezó con la evolución, fue de, bueno, empecemos con los animales y con los tiburones y con las mantas, y ha evolucionado a través de los años las necesidades, porque hemos visto entonces ahora que es lo que es la basura, lo que está convirtiéndose la basura, porque el consumo del ambiente marino, del plástico, de otras cosas, se está dañando más allá y destruyendo otro tipo de cosas. Entonces, en este momento, hemos hecho a nivel póliza muchos cambios. Sin embargo, realmente la información empírica que hemos recibido apenas está causando el impacto que necesitábamos para que sepan qué es lo que se puede hacer. ¿Okay? Entonces, a nivel gubernamental, directamente de que yo le pueda decir con una agencia gubernamental de los Estados Unidos, no, porque todo ha empezado pequeño y es a nivel local o a nivel, digámoslo, más internacional. Entonces, estamos tratando de que nuestra información se convierta en la base de lo que necesitan los gobiernos y las autoridades locales e internacionales a otro nivel, que empiecen a reconocer lo que nosotros estamos haciendo para que puedan cambiar dicha póliza. Tenemos varios ejemplos de cómo hemos podido a nivel internacional hacer cambios, pero agencia que yo le diga con esa estamos trabajando, no, porque no tenemos la capacidad humana en el grupo para hacerlo. No porque no queramos, sino porque somos 14 gatos tratando de darle un poquito de todo a todo el mundo. Entonces, por eso queremos más bien enfocarnos en algo que sí podamos hacer, y es con lo que ustedes colecten como buceadores, de poder decir, esto es lo que más podemos encontrar, esta basura, y ponerlo en una forma como más tangible. ¿Okay?
Okay.
Ahora, por la primera pregunta, nosotros sí trabajamos con otras compañías que tienen digamos, el mismo concepto, pero ninguna ha sido, cada una tiene su propia directiva, digámoslo así. Cada agencia tiene su forma de hacer las cosas y lo que estamos tratando de hacer es unificar la forma en que se está recolectando dicha información para que todos entonces podamos usarla y empezar a realmente presentar los problemas tan grandes que está causando este tipo de basura. Entonces, con todos ellos trabajamos y tenemos unas colaboraciones excelentes. Sin embargo, no somos ni hermanos, ni estamos haciendo campañas unidas, porque tampoco, una vez más, desafortunadamente, no hay la capacidad humana para hacer ese tipo de cosas.
Ok, gracias.
Juanita, a ver, yo tengo una pregunta, vámonos a lo práctico, ¿ok?
Listo.
Ok, yo soy buzo desde hace 30 años, hago 2 viajes de buceo al año largos, soy el fotógrafo aquí del grupo, soy ponente en Todos por el Mar porque me interesa el mar.
Claro.
Prácticamente, ¿cómo ayudo?
¿Usted tiene una cuenta de MyOcean?
No.
Bueno, empecemos por ahí, porque sin esa cuenta no me puede dar usted la información si fue a un sitio bello y lo encontró limpio y perfecto, o me puede decir, hoy encontré una bolsa, y aunque no parezca importante, esa bolsa nos va a dar otro tipo de información donde decimos, aquí casi no hay basura. Porque a la hora de la verdad, lo que ustedes como grupo, una vez cerremos aquí, deberían leer la información que salió de todo lo que estuvimos haciendo con otra organización. Y como explicaba Jack, la relación entre la basura en la tierra y la basura en el agua. La basura en el agua se mueve. La basura en el agua no toda llega al fondo y no toda la podemos limpiar nosotros. Y se la está consumiendo la vida marina. Entonces, el solo tener esa cuenta, el solo entrar y decirme, hoy buceé y no hice nada, eso es ayudar. Por lo menos lo que nosotros necesitamos de ustedes. Más que dinero, más que cualquier otra cosa, es un buceador participante. Un buceador con ese tipo de conciencia.
Ok, me queda claro. A lo mejor la respuesta que estaba esperando era conviértete en el gato número 15.
¿Y será porque no entendí que era ser el gato número 15?
Ok.
Bueno, yo tengo otra pregunta más.
Sí.
Ustedes trabajan en PADI, ¿no? O sea, están en
Nosotros usamos las oficinas, más no trabajamos en PADI.
Ustedes no trabajan en PADI. Bueno, siempre tuve la idea, entonces. Entonces, no trabajan en PADI, pero usan las oficinas de PADI. Es correcto.
Sí,
¿no?
en una esquinita.
En una esquinita. O sea, PADI sí les ayuda.
Nos dejan usar las oficinas y el teléfono, sí.
Ya.
Ya contestó eso hace rato, Albert.
No, pero espérate, todavía no acabo. Ahora, otra pregunta más. ¿PADI también les ayuda como a dar las bolsas o
No.
el material?
Tampoco, nosotros somos los que damos el material. Nuestro equipo fue el que puso las clases, puso las lecciones y tiene todo en nuestra propia página web que no tiene nada que ver con PADI, ni siquiera el equipo técnico de PADI. No. Entra esa, nosotros tenemos nuestro equipo técnico y nuestra página web completamente separada.
Bueno, las credenciales y todo esto sí las aporta PADI, ¿no? Las credenciales de Project Aware.
Somos nosotros los que damos las credenciales que PADI eventualmente utiliza cuando se trata de Project Aware.
Digo, porque hay unas credenciales, la verdad, que están increíbles. Y la verdad, sí, se siente uno bien que está dando algo para el proyecto, ¿no?
Correcto. La donación extra que se da cuando se hace un Project Aware, eso va para nosotros. El PIC que usa PADI, eso es de PADI. Eso no lo vemos nosotros, eso no lo leemos nosotros y solamente estamos usando lo que el sistema y la infraestructura que ellos ya tienen para alcanzar a dichos buceadores o a los instructores que están tratando de divulgar lo que nosotros estamos haciendo. Pero PADI a nosotros no nos da nada en ese sentido. Ellos no nos mantienen ni los sistemas, ni nos dan las bolsas. Es más, las bolsas que estamos tratando de buscar en este momento, pero pues con todo lo que está pasando en el mundo, estamos buscando algo que sea más viable y menos usando plásticos y que realmente tenga lo que nosotros queremos difundir sobre lo que es la basura y qué es lo que necesita el mundo.
Okay, yo porque hace unos años, yo con la Universidad de Anáhuac hicimos un Diver Against Debris enorme y sacamos quién sabe cuánta basura de Acapulco y tengo un chorro de fotos. Y la verdad es que yo pedí bolsas y sí nos mandaron bolsas y nos ayudaron y bueno, la verdad hasta sacamos buenas fotos. No sé si nos divulgaron en sus páginas, pero la verdad a nosotros sí nos ayudaron. O sea, no es que no ayuden con bolsas. O sea, yo vi, hasta me dieron hasta creo que libretitas para apuntar lo que sacábamos y todo.
Correcto. Lo que estamos tratando de hacer en Latinoamérica es divulgar que existimos, porque desafortunadamente PADI sí tiene los teléfonos, PADI sí tiene la página, PADI tiene otro tipo de cosas, entonces lo sé yo, que estuve en PADI tantos años, todo el mundo llama a PADI primero. Y usted como nadie sabe, señor Sacal, que cuando la gente llamaba no había nadie ni en español, ni nadie que pudiera hablar o hacer otro tipo de preguntas porque la página solamente está en inglés. Pero eso es lo que queremos cambiar aquí, la impresión de que si hay alguien en español, que se pueden hacer las preguntas. En este momento pues todos estamos abarrados porque ni la oficina está abierta y no sabemos cuándo la vamos a poder abrir. Pero una vez esté yo ahí, esa es la mentalidad que estamos tratando de cambiar. Que nosotros estamos aquí es para tratar de ayudar con lo que nosotros tengamos y podamos hacerlo directamente a eso, al buceador o al instructor o al centro de buceo, que nada que ver, que tenga que ver es con Project Aware y lo que estamos tratando de hacer de salvar el medio ambiente, no de PADI.
No, claro, ya. Bueno, ya de PADI nada más, era una, o sea, nada más quería saber que siempre tenía la idea, ¿no? Pero a lo que voy es que yo sí recibí ayuda, entonces...
¿Por qué no hacer una ponencia de PADI?
Síguele, otra preguntita más. ¿Ustedes dan algún premio o algo así, si el que más recolecte basura o algo así a fin de año o algo parecido?
Nosotros mandamos certificados y reconocimiento en nuestra página y en nuestro blog, y tenemos Instagram y tenemos Facebook a nuestros miembros y ese tipo de labores, claro que sí. Lo que pasa es que como la voz no está tan divulgada como debería ser, entonces nadie se está dando cuenta que eso está apareciendo, pero sí.
Bueno, lamentablemente, en serio, la gente no conoce mucho de Project Aware y por eso nosotros aquí en Todos por el Mar, por eso lo estoy tratando de divulgar también. Porque realmente es una súper idea y la verdad sí se está sacando mucha basura, es impresionante.
Y que nadie la está notando en ninguna parte, y eso es lo que queremos parar, no porque, al contrario, queremos darles es más para que entiendan el impacto de lo que están recogiendo, que nadie nos está contando que lo está recogiendo, porque ustedes están cuidando mucho. Lo sé por la historia que tengo de a quién conozco y todo lo que me cuentan. En Latinoamérica hay mucho movimiento al respecto y eso es lo que quiero yo cambiar.
Sí. Luis, ¿tienes alguna pregunta?
Sí quería, bueno, más bien como una propuesta para ti, Juanita. Creo que todo esto está muy interesante. La verdad es que tiene años de existir y hasta ahorita que los oigo, digo, suena como ilógico, pero hasta ahorita que los oigo, como que ubico todo el concepto de Project Aware bien hecho. Me encanta la idea, los felicito, está increíble. Lo que yo creo que sería bueno es tener contacto con los instructores, de alguna manera hacer alguna plática con instructores, no sé si de PADI o de otras agencias también, para proponerles el movimiento que ustedes llevan, y ya en base de que tengas a los instructores, pues de ahí ya que se ramifique con todos los alumnos de todos los instructores. Entonces creo que ahí tendrías como unos puntos interesantes para poder dar a conocer este concepto de una mejor manera, ¿no?
No, y en esas estamos. Hay que empezar despacio, porque tengo mucha prisa. Y yo creo que una vez la gente entienda realmente qué es lo que está tratando de hacer Project Aware, y en este caso como Benjamín ya entendió que no lo vamos a dejar solamente porque sea buceador recreativo, porque tampoco, al contrario. Y yo creo
Que
que
se haga Dive Master,
o en
dile.
español.
Que se haga Dive Master.
No. Yo en eso no me meto porque ya no soy padre. Eso ya es problema de ustedes. Pero de mi parte, eso es lo que quiero hacer. Que se divulgue en español. Que se entiendan las necesidades de nosotros como latinos, que como en Europa son diferentes, en Asia son diferentes. Yo quiero empezar ese movimiento porque sé lo que están haciendo, solamente es eso, divulgarlo. Y empezar poquito, empezar pequeño con ustedes, con gente que tiene este tipo de relaciones y network que yo no lo tengo, y empezar por ahí. Así que, ¿qué va a hacer Luis por mí? Va a poner a rango extendido a que todo el mundo...
Claro.
Ah, listo. Y aquí el señor Sacal, yo sé que tiene todos esos universitarios. ¿Qué vamos a hacer con ellos también, cierto? ¿Sí o qué?
Yo ya tengo mi diploma, ¿eh?
No, yo sé, pero estamos hablando de, así como este grupo existe, hay que diversificar la voz y ya saben que no tenemos sino, bueno, ya entendí el cuento del 15 pelagato, ahí quedé yo. Pues entonces, Benjamín, te me vas a volver el 15 gatico por ahí mojado que me vas a dar a los buceadores que conoces para que todo el mundo conozca Project Aware.
Claro que sí. O sea,
Eso es
aparentemente,
todo lo que necesito.
aparentemente sus políticas no te va a ser difícil reclutarme, pero bueno, yo estoy dispuesto.
Yo hago así con las, no, mentira. No, eso es lo que quiero cambiar. Que sepan que en Project Aware ahora sí hay alguien que por lo menos en español puede hacer otro tipo de cosas que no existían antes. Que hay entonces, aunque pequeño el grupo, pero está intenso y dedicado a hacer el cambio de lo que se necesita. Porque ahorita más que nunca lo necesitamos todos.
Ok.
Oye, una pregunta más. Yo apenas fui una biblioteca de un presidente de Clinton y había una exposición muy interesante de toda la basura del mar y hicieron padrísimo arte, increíble, ¿no? Ustedes forman parte de, tal vez hay como no sé, un mesh o algo así grande, una corporación que los ayude a estar juntos para hacer estos proyectos que están increíbles.
En este momento, Albert, la verdad sea dicha, el primer papel científico que nuestro equipo tiene acaba de salir hace semana y media. Porque antes era solamente de hablar lo que queríamos hacer, que de diferentes somos de otras agencias, pero este es el primer papel empírico que realmente nos pone en el mapa como una asociación que puede sostener científicamente de lo que estamos hablando y de lo necesario que es de todo. Entonces, eso es lo que queremos divulgar.
La verdad, felicidades, qué bueno que llegaste a Project Aware.
Ay, gracias. Pues eso espero, hacer la diferencia y con ustedes, pues, me tienen que ayudar a echarle el grito. Porque hay mucho por hacer, mucho por hacer.
Sí, no, y la verdad me dio mucho gusto que me dijeras, no, mira, puedo dar una plática de Project Aware porque está increíble. No, sí. Es más, es lo que nosotros estamos haciendo. Estamos tratando de rescatar el mar. Y más ahorita que está más limpio que nunca, tratar de sacarle toda la cochinada, ¿qué sería mejor, no?
Bueno, pues ya saben que aquí tienen el apoyo. Juntos lo que estén haciendo y dentro de lo que se pueda, aquí voy a estar yo para que lo que no sepa, Albert ya me conoce, si yo no lo sé, yo me lo averiguo. Si no me lo averiguo, me aseguro de que haya una respuesta y que haya, pues que tenga el contacto con alguien, tanto humano como que valga la pena, porque todos estamos haciendo el esfuerzo y para eso estoy.
¿Tú estás en México?
No, yo también vivo aquí en California.
Ah, ok.
Pero si me invitan, yo voy. Cuando abran el borde, ¿no? No, mentiras, es Colombia el que está todavía cerrado.
Pues sí. Pues sí me gusta, bueno, si no lo han visto, está padrísimo. Lo de Clinton Library, hicieron como todo un proyecto de arte increíble, los que están por allá.
Lo voy a escribir, lo voy a buscar y a ver entonces cómo.
Se llamaba Art at Sea o algo así, de la basura, del rubbish. Muy interesante. Y a ver si podemos hacer algo así. Debería de haber artistas mexicanos que hagan algo así también, la verdad.
Y sería fabuloso con la propia basura que ustedes recogen. En Colombia lo hacen. San Andrés es famoso por las, ¿cómo es que se les dice? Las estatuas que están haciendo de lo que colectan. Y eso es lo que quiero divulgar, lo que está haciendo cada localidad, porque cada uno tiene su saborcito, su cosa diferente. Entonces, claro que sí.
Oye, ¿nos puedes platicar cómo es que tú entraste a Project Aware?
Salió la oportunidad de una persona que les ayudara con operaciones y servicio al consumidor. Y después de 9 años y medio, no porque no los quiera, ahí van para los que son profesionales. Después de 9 años y medio, me gustó más lo que tenía que hacer Project Aware con el mundo. Y dije, no, hay que darle algo nuevo a lo que ya sé respecto al buceo. Y entonces me inspiró más y sé que como buceadora y como ser humano tengo más que crecer por aquí que por allá.
No, la verdad, sí.
Así que empecé el 17 y me mandaron a la casa el 19. Por favor.
No, qué barbaridad.
2 días y aquí estoy ya dando presentaciones. Yo pensé que esto iba a ser como el próximo año, pero no, aquí estoy.
¿Y cuánto tiempo ya tiene que salió Project Aware y de dónde fue la
Salió en el 89.
¿Y de
Y
quién fue la
evolucionado
iniciativa?
porque empezó como otro tipo de agencia y luego se convirtió en una institución solita porque realmente sí empezó como proyecto de PADI y era un proyecto a 10 años como para hacer impacto y hacer otro tipo de cambios, pero creció tanto y vieron la necesidad que eventualmente nos convertimos en una agencia independiente sin ánimo de lucro registrada en los Estados Unidos y eventualmente en Australia y en Inglaterra.
¿Y de quién fue la iniciativa?
Drew y el equipo ejecutivo cuando empezaron, porque antes era mucho como más científico. Project Aware realmente empezó más bien como eso, un proyecto científico de cómo vamos a hacer, cómo vamos a asegurarnos de que el ambiente marino sobreviva, qué es lo que está pasando, cuál es la influencia que podemos tener ahí. Y eventualmente se convirtió en algo mucho más grande de lo que ellos podían manejar. Entonces, hoy en día estamos buscando otra cosa. Les voy a mandar entonces los datos sobre van a ser 3 las publicaciones que se hagan sobre la información que se ha colectado durante los últimos 8 años, para que entiendan entonces el impacto del papel que tiene esta colección y lo que estamos haciendo para que vean. Eso va a cambiar la idea que todo el mundo tiene de Project Aware.
No, sí, yo creo que es muy buena idea y la verdad creo que son pioneros en todo esto. Creo que fueron de los primeros. Si no es que fueron los primeros.
Somos los únicos que tiene ese tipo de base de datos.
No digo que empezaron con todo esto, ¿no? No sé si ahorita ya hay varios, porque creo que digo que este que vi en el Clinton Library era otra dependencia.
Cierto.
Pero creo que ustedes son los primeros.
De tener este tipo de base de información a nivel bajo el agua, sí. Y lo que estamos tratando de hacer, sí.
De verdad, felicidades. Impresionante.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias por venir.
¿Cómo no? Luis, ahí quedó comprometido con rango extendido.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. Tú me dices si lo que nos puedas dar o enviar para promover en redes o por correo, o sea, para dar a conocer esto un poco más adelante.
Sí, y más de estas charlas, porque estas charlas también las podemos dar una vez más a sus instructores o a sus buceadores y hacerlo un poco más íntimo de acuerdo a lo que están viendo, porque no todo el mundo está buceando en el mismo sitio, no todo el mundo está haciendo lo mismo. No es solamente el mar, a la hora de la verdad, cualquier lago, cualquier río, cualquier cosa en donde se esté buceando, esto también es información que se recibe.
Claro.
Me gustaría
Así
ver
que juntos cambiaremos el mundo.
una pregunta. Me gustaría tal vez hacer, no sé si se puede hacer en línea una certificación o un diplomado, no sé cómo se llama el curso que están dando ahorita, que lo den ustedes directamente. Sería algo muy excepcional y yo podría juntar tal vez a un grupo de gente para dar para dar ese
ese
especial.
tipo de curso. Eso lo hablo yo con Jack, para que entonces queden ustedes organizados y hablamos de qué es lo que se les puede dar y qué nosotros, porque como nosotros no somos agencia de enseñar, pero sí un certificado de participación a nivel Project Aware, como no.
Estaría muy bueno, que la gente les gusta aprender. Y ahorita que no
No
hay mucho
solamente
que hacer,
eso,
estaría
sino
muy
que
bueno.
se les puede dar la clase de cómo crear la cuenta de MyOcean y el impacto que eso tiene, además, entonces sí se puede hacer y yo me encargo de hablar con Jack, en ese caso, a hablar de hacerlo en español en vez de inglés y si me toca, pues aprendo a cómo enseñarle a todo el mundo.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias.
No, a ustedes por el oído y por el tiempo, muchas gracias. Anything you have to say, Jack?
Sorry, we took over the
Great.
conversation in Spanish.
That's great. It's
I
good
did my
practice for
part.
everyone. This is fantastic.
Well, you know, you have to learn how to speak Spanish now with Juanita on the side.
I understand a little bit more than you guys know, but that's what matters. It's very good. Very well.
Hey,
Thanks
Jack,
for
do
your
you
initiative.
have
It's very
anything-
nice.
Do you have, is your presentation over?
Basically, yes. It was just a matter of making sure you guys knew how to reach us, which
Can you put up
is the
a
last piece
slide
of
with
puzzle.
your contact information or
Yeah.
where can people find information about your project?
Yep, it's literally right here. It should be visible now. And the one thing I wanted to leave everyone with is, I think Juanita covered part of this. I did hear that, but if you look here, these are the easiest ways for us to see you on social media. So if you guys have these pictures, these dives, these questions, everything, use this information here, screenshot it. We'll provide it easy for you. And very simple, very self-explanatory. The one, if you have more questions for us, which please do throw away, and especially Juanita, then you can see here that you can reach me. And Juanita, I'll make sure to get yours up in future presentations, but it's just our name with a dot in between. So it's very easy to reach us at projectaware.org. And we're happy to take all questions, challenges, anything you guys got, throw it our way, because we're looking forward to helping you guys more.
Juanita, I'm gonna put your email in the chat for everybody, okay?
Sí, por favor.
Y también es a través de mí, pueden preguntar lo que quieran o contactarme y yo directamente los puedo mandar. Yo tengo un contacto directo con Juanita, cada ratito le hablo. Entonces pueden...
Desafortunadamente sí, no mentira.
Entonces, yo le mando a Juanita las preguntas que quiero.
Lo que necesiten quedo a la orden, ¿cómo no? En este momento no tengo teléfono para darles porque pues no estoy en la oficina, pero sí a través del correo electrónico del señor Sacal. El vicio que tengo es que sí contesto.
Y rápido, ¿eh? Y rápido.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias por haber venido a darnos la conferencia. Muy interesante. Jack, thank you very much for coming. Very interesting. I think we got a lot of information, at least for me. I hope more people in the chat.
Yeah, please do ask.
They have work to do.
Yeah. Yes, but we're happy to follow up so you guys have easier access to some of the things we talked about. Again, they can be easily understood on our website, but I've already sent you a few of them, so you can kind of start with that, and then Juanita and I will follow up with a very nice email so that everyone can get what they need. But what I sent you is the best place to start.
Okay.
Y Benjamín, de ahora en adelante tú eres mi gato 15.
No, soy el gato 15 de Project Aware. Soy tu gato número 1.
No le vayan a decir a mi marido que mañana cumplimos 29 años juntos, así que cuidado.
Espérate, no le digas a tu marido que es tu gato.
Pues sí, no le voy a poder decir.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias. Nada más les
De
quiero
nada.
recordar a todos que...
Nada.
Thank you. Nada más les quiero recordar a todos que pueden ver esta ponencia en Facebook, por favor. Recomiéndanos con sus amigos, que nos vengan a ver. Mañana lo voy a postear todo, va a tener subtítulos en español. Y por favor no se les olvide darnos like y suscribirse a nuestro programa de YouTube, porque no siempre es el mismo día que vamos a subir las ponencias. A veces hacemos ponencias entre nosotros y los voy a subir ahí y no se van a poder enterar si no están con la suscripción ahí. Y también, por favor, estamos muy contentos, ya jalamos en menos de un mes más de 1000 likes, o sea, también es muy bueno, se ve que la gente le está gustando, gracias a su apoyo. Y la verdad es que ni siquiera hicimos ni siquiera hicimos nada de promoción, de hecho. Muchas gracias a todos los que nos están haciendo promoción, como Luis, como Benjamín, como, bueno, todo el mundo. Y pues muchas gracias. Benja.
Gracias a todos, buenas noches. Recuerden, ya no les di lata con lo de Zoom, porque pues, el que no actualizó no estuvo hoy acá. Buenas noches.
Luis.
Hasta luego, buenas noches. Gusto saludarlos a todos y pues nos estamos viendo en la siguiente, ¿no?
Y Juanita, eres bienvenida a oírnos. Estamos lunes, miércoles y jueves dando aquí pláticas.
Muchas gracias. Estaré pendiente. Por el horario no me comprometo a hacer muchas, pero sí me comprometo a estar en comunicación.
Bueno.
Muchas gracias por el oído de hoy.
Les quiero nada más recordar las ponencias de esta semana. Tenemos el miércoles a Sandra Rapoport y a Arturo Montero, que nos van a hablar de arqueología subacuática. Y el 4 de junio vamos a hablar con Joseph Lustadot. Bueno, él hunde barcos en Veracruz, entonces va a estar bien interesante porque le mete las cámaras. Entonces vamos a ver cómo se hunden los barcos. Eso va a estar bien padre. Y después, el día lunes, tenemos la ponencia de Vanessa, entre orcas. No, recuerden que nada más va a ser en vivo, no lo vamos a poder ver en YouTube, así es que por favor no se la pierdan. Y después tenemos la ponencia de Luis, de todos sus viajes casi increíbles para alrededor del mundo. Va a estar muy padre. Y Pedro, que nos va a dar los mamíferos marinos, que va a estar padrísimo, que cómo los rescata. Entonces, ya sabes que él es súper rescatista y le fascina andar rescatando mamíferos. Bueno, muchas gracias y nos estamos viendo. Nos vemos el miércoles. Buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.
Chao a todos.
Buenas noches.